Hello! Today I've got a video tutorial that's a little different from my usual card making videos. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you know that I love playing with alcohol inks, but I usually forget to record what I've created. But I've had several requests to film tutorials, so I thought I'd start out with a bright and cheery one using a few new to me products that I really love. So let's get started. I'm trying out T-Rex inks for the first time today, and wow are they vibrant. I'll share more thoughts on these inks as we go along, but I'm also using T-Rex blending solution with the inks, my trusty camera lens cleaner, Pinata brass alcohol ink, Pinata Blanco alcohol ink, and Nara black paper. So first off, I've done a little experimenting on the paper to show you some of the different blending solution options. I'm using Trex Irish Moss Green with the Pinata Blanco ink. On the top left corner, I've mixed them with Copic colorless blender fluid. On the bottom left, I've used 91% isopropyl alcohol, and it was not a good result. On the bottom right, I've used Ranger alcohol blending solution, which is my normal go-to, except as you can see, I'm running really low and waiting for refills. And finally, on the top right, I'm using the T-Rex blending solution. And as you can see, the color actually seems the most accurate to the cap of the bottle. I was pleasantly surprised by this blending solution. And before we get started, I wanted to take a minute to show you a few ways to use the inks on black paper. The inks aren't opaque on their own, so they need something to help the color stand out, and that's where the Blanco ink comes into play. You can also use Snowcap Mixative from Ranger if you've got that instead. So first, you can add a drop of your colored ink to the black paper, but as you can see, it doesn't show up. But if you add a drop of Blanco ink, the color will mix and you can spread it around. Another option is to add a little blending solution to the paper, then add a drop of Blanco, then a drop of color, and spread it around. This gives a nice even color and is my favorite way to add color. But you can also add the blending solution in Blanco, spread it around, and then add color on top. The color will still mix, but will often leave patches of white behind. If that's the look you're going for, that's fine, but today I just wanted to focus on the rainbow colors. So to start, I'm going to work in a diagonal pattern from the bottom left corner to the top right. I add a few drops of blending solution and a few drops of Blanco, followed quickly by a few drops of amethyst purple, and then use the blower to move it around. If you blow too forcefully, you'll end up moving the ink off the paper so that the black shows through. I like that effect occasionally, but for the most part I try to keep the black from showing through and keep the inks on top of the white. You can vary the amount of white or color you use to get different intensities. This technique doesn't really lend itself well to blending between colors, but that works well for what I'm going for here. If you wanted more of a blend between the colors, I'd use more blending solution and add both colors at once. As you can see, I keep adding colors as I work through the rainbow. I've picked up the speed of the video now just so that it doesn't last forever, but you get the idea. Once I've put down my first rainbow layer, I go back and add another layer of color along the top and bottom of the panel. I also vary the amount of Blanco and colored inks I use so the colors are slightly different shades. It just adds a little interest to that first layer. Now it's time to add a little sparkle. I shake my Pinata brass really well and then add a few drops to my palette. I drop a little alcohol on the panel and then use a pipette to add a tiny drop of the metallic. Then I use my blower to move it around. Since the panel is almost completely dry, I'm not really reactivating the colors here, just adding the metallic on top of the rainbow. I could reactivate the colors with more alcohol and mix the gold in for a different look that you'll see in another video soon, but that's not what I'm going for today. Mostly, I add gold in a few spots until I'm happy with the coverage. Just like my cards, I'm hard-pressed to avoid adding a little splatter here and there, so I take a cheap synthetic paintbrush and dip it in the blending solution and then tap it across the panel. Where it hits the ink, it will lighten and move the inks and create little droplets, almost like water on reactive inks or distress inks. I repeat this process a few times until I like the way it looks. Then I do the same with a little Pinata brass to add gold droplets and accents across the panel. Again, the great thing about this paper is that you can take a little alcohol and a paper towel or a Q-tip and erase any droplets you're not fond of. The paper is synthetic, and you could actually clean off this entire painting and start again if you wanted. And that's it for the first step. Next, I'll be spraying the rainbow with a few coats of varnish and sealer, and then it will be time to trim it, adhere it to a gold frame, and add a coat of resin. If all goes well, I hope to film the process and share it here. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to answer. All the products I used are linked in the YouTube description below or over on my blog. Thanks so much for watching, have a fantastic day, and happy crafting! Bye!